Welcome to a brand new episode of Gadget Nation and me, Adam Carruthers, and I'm really excited for today. Why? We got lots of things to show you. For example, something from HTC. No, actually one, but two things from HTC. One, very, very unique. I will say it belongs in Super Mario's belt. That's all I'll say for now, but you kind of get the gist. And of course, a lot more here. So, let's start the show.
Spotify has introduced a new feature called Touch Preview to its music streaming service. The feature aims to improve how users discover music by allowing them to touch and hold on an album cover to hear a 30-second preview. Qualcomm has showcased its upcoming Snapdragon 810 processor, revealing several new capabilities and improvements in terms of video, audio, photography, gaming, and networking. There are over 14 pairs of image processors in the chipset, allowing the device to produce ultra-high quality images up to 55 megapixels. It will also support Dolby Atmos for a more realistic and in-depth surround sound environment for users during multimedia playback. The Samsung Galaxy Note Edge will be officially available in Malaysia in the first week of February, running on Qualcomm's 2.7 GHz Snapdragon 805 processor that's mated to 3 GB of RAM. It also gets a 16 megapixel OIS main and 3.7 megapixel front cameras like the Galaxy Note 4. The Galaxy Note Edge will be very limited and will be only sold at Samsung branded stores.
So cool. I've got two devices here from HTC, two very different devices I should add, but both very, very exciting indeed. So, you were wondering what this is. No, I'm not asthmatic, nor have I ever been asthmatic. This is not an asthma inhaler, nor is it something which you would see in a piping system. It's something else entirely. I'll get to this later, but if you like pictures, this could be very, very enticing to you. So I'll come back to it. It is from HTC. What I want to focus on first is this, the HTC Desire Eye. It's a very, very nifty phone. Don't be fooled by the price. It's about 1,699, so slightly under 1,700 ringgit, but it is not a mid-tier phone as the pricing might suggest. It offers a lot more. So firstly, don't be put off if you don't think that it looks that nice in the fact that it's more of a plasticky feel, as you can see on the back and around the side. It offers plenty of good grip. It feels nice in your hands, albeit not as nice as the HTC One M8. Obviously, that's like that metal casing, etc. I mean, that is also more pricey. But inside this bad boy, underneath the plastic exterior, beats the heart of a champion. Well, all right, the specs of a champion at least. Very, very cool. I'm very impressed with what's in here. So, let's start with this. So inside here, there's a Qualcomm Snapdragon 801 chipset, 2 GB of RAM, talking 16 GB of memory, but it can accept micro SD cards up to 128 GB. So in terms of memory, it really shouldn't be an issue. Also, I'm a big fan of this. Don't know why, but I do like phones being a bit waterproof. At least it's got IPX rating of 7, so you can go 1 meter for about 30 minutes or so. So if you like to go underwater and start capturing your pictures, it shouldn't really have any issues in that aspect. So, lots to love around that. Now, it's not too heavy either. You're talking about 154 grams. In terms of size, I've always maintained on the show that I've got rather large hands, so I don't really have issues with big phones. In fact, I personally prefer big phones. 5.2-inch screen here, though, might be a bit big for some. Again, for me, it's entirely subjective. I have no issue holding it with typing with one hand. Plus, it's not heavy, so as I'm balancing it on my little finger like such to type, it's not an issue. It's very comfortable. But again, if your hands are smaller than mine, I can see why it might be an issue. It might become more two-handed than a one-handed phone. But I might be nitpicking a little bit there. Let's not get too much into it. Now, what about the camera? On the back, it's not using what we've seen on, say, the HTC M7 or the M8, 13 megapixel camera, and it's also 13 megapixel on the front. So obviously, when it says it's the HTC Desire Eye, it's all about the eye, taking pictures, snapping away. It has no issues with that, and I have to say the camera skills on this, they are very, very, very nifty indeed. I'm very impressed. I can sit here taking pictures and it's got very nice lens. If you're really into your selfies, etc., this could be very useful. Now, one thing which interests me a little bit is it's still got the boom sound, but HTC are moving away from how we've traditionally seen it. Like, you're not seeing the grills that we've come to see in the past, more slits than anything else. Now, it's still got very rich sound. If you're playing your games, separating the stereo, etc., it's still very, very good. Although falls slightly short of the M7 and the M8. Now, again, you look at the price tag, etc., you can understand why it's not going to be quite up there in terms of how it looks, the plasticky feel versus the metal, but also the sound of the speakers. But don't get me wrong, it's still pretty nifty nonetheless. Now, in terms of battery life, 2,400 mAh, which for me does the job. I think it's pretty nifty. There's absolutely zero complaints on that front, and I've rather enjoyed using it in that sense. I mean, it should last most of the day, I would say in the evenings. Again, this is so subjective depending on your usage of your phones that it's a bit hard to quantify it. But for me, I'm quite a heavy user. By the afternoon, early evenings, I'm finding myself looking for a charge point, stick something in, and then good to go. But it should definitely chug along throughout most of the day. Absolutely no complaints on that front. Not really much else to say about this. I'm very impressed with it. The price point is obviously something it's negotiable. I mean, it's very, very appealing in that sense. The build itself maybe not as classy as we've come to see from the M8 or the M7, but still very nice, good grip in your hands, very light as well, very, very nifty to hold, so it's not going to weigh you down, not going to feel tired in your hands. But it's a phone. What propositions me in terms of interest would be this. Check it out, in my hands right here, the HTC RE camera. It is about 1,000 ringgit less than the HTC Desire I. It is 699 ringgit, so it's slightly under 700 ringgit. And I have to say, it's unique. It is absolutely unique. It's not a plumbing device. It's not an asthma inhaler. I feel better now, you know, I'm short of breath. This is actually a camera. Now, I don't even know where to start with this because there's not much on it in terms of buttons, for one thing. There is a USB port at the bottom, and you can also, underneath that, stick in your micro SD, up to 128 GB in case you're wondering. And the micro USB is obviously for transferring for your pictures and also to charge the device itself. Now, if I just roll it around like that, you'll see a button here. This button is more for slow motion capture for videos, but on the back it's the most prominent button, this big silver one. That one is for taking your pictures in normal video, so just press. That's it, really. And you may notice there's not even a power button. No power button even. It is simply held and it will be activated. It uses like a grip sensor sort of thing. So it will obviously switch into standby mode or switch itself off once it's not in use. That is how basic this is. Now, in terms of being a camera, don't expect many options. You can do like you're setting basic settings for time-lapse, etc., for some really nifty things, and obviously this can be positioned in very unique ways, but don't expect too much because there's no screen on it. I mean, I haven't even touched on it. There's no screen on it for you to play around with options. It is just point, shoot, and you're good to go. You can change a couple of things if you want to do time-lapse or slow motion video, or you're going for pictures or just video capture, but effectively that is it. There is no screen for a camera. That's just the lens right there, nothing else. It's not like I'm going to look through here and I'll see what I'm taking a picture of. There's nothing there to look through. I'm still getting over that, to be honest, if you can't tell. But one plus point is there's the RE app coming for Android phones and also for iPhones. So there's terms of connectivity and settings, etc., can be adjusted accordingly via the phone that you use. So I like the way they're thinking in that approach. Now, as a device itself, it's waterproofed. Don't expect it to replace a GoPro. It's not meant for that. It's more for casual usage. So you're walking around, if I put it in some water, it should be fine, etc. But I mean, it's also meant for being on a straight surface. You see right there? It's balanced precariously across there. Now, obviously, the most important thing is the sensor, 16 megapixel sensor inside from Sony, I should add. I've become quite a big fan of the Sony sensors as of recent. 16 megapixels, like I touched on, 146 wide-angle lens. So obviously, can capture quite a bit, and it certainly does a good job in that aspect. I can find zero complaints in that. So I'm just going to put it back down, and I have to say it is unique. And obviously, they kind of go hand in hand almost. Almost. There's a lot to love about both devices. I've come to like them both quite a bit. Good thinking from HTC. They've given us a phone here which offers a lot of what we'll see from their flagship devices. In the past, the M7, currently the M8. I mean, it's even got the same gestures. You can also use the dot view casing as well. All those come here. It's just lacking that extra bit of power, that extra bit of oomph, that extra bit of class, with the actual exterior being plastic as opposed to the metallic one we've come to see, and something as basic as the boom sound. I actually prefer the camera on this as well. Yeah, I do. I know that may sound odd, but this is 13 megapixels. The M8 is 4, although I know it uses the ultra-pixel technology. Story for another day. The front camera obviously is fantastic, 13 megapixels. Both of them using their dual LED flash, which on the front as well, I should add. It's comes out nicely in pictures. So a lot to love. It's not too expensive, 1,700 ringgit. And I know that in the market nowadays it's saturated by cheaper phones. For effectively you're getting the same sort of specs as a higher end phone from the Xiaomi's, etc., and the Huawei's. So this definitely can compete against those phones on many, many fronts. Very good job. Now, as for this, it's thinking outside the box. There's nothing quite like it. I mean, it's easy to hold, it's easy to grip. You're not going to expect too much from it if you're one of those types that gets so confused with camera settings like shutter speed, white balance, blah, blah, blah. This one, there's no screen in it. It's just taking pictures and you're good to go effectively. Yeah, you can sync it up with the phone, etc., but that is it. And it's pretty cool. It's meant for casual usage, nothing too professional. Snap your pictures, do that. It's going to get you by. It's got about 820 mAh battery power, so you're talking 100 minutes of video capture, 1,200 pictures. So if you're going to go traveling, this is pretty easy to hold. You're not going to be too worried about dropping it, etc. It's quite sturdy in itself, and I like the way they're thinking outside the box when it comes to this. Obviously, a heavy focus on these would be taking pictures, this being a camera, this having 13 megapixels in the front and back. And I have to say, they're really catering to the market. Well done, HTC. 2 devices, not too expensive either, that are worth investigating more.